I've actually already recorded a couple versions of this video, so here I'm going to snippet together the best of both versions, and there might be a little bit of overlap in the commentary and the talking points, but the magnitude of the subject matter is appropriate to repeat. It's the kind of stuff that makes you do a double take and say, what? Say that again. Did you just say what I thought I heard you say? So to have a little bit of overlap will be okay. So I just wanted to make this video concise. This ring that you see is apparently on the finger of one of those ETs that was presented to the Congress in Mexico a few days ago. And the implications of one of them wearing a ring would mean that they have culture and technology similar to our own. Culture and customs that lead them to wear jewelry. And they're technologically advanced enough to smelt the metal. So that means they're not just underground cave dwelling, eating roots and grubs and bugs and bark and stuff. So I just wanted to give you that to think about. And this statement from General Mark Milley 7 years ago when he was giving the commencement speech to the graduating class at Norwich University, the ROTC graduates. Let's check that out.
Recently I saw a video on the internet with a 4-star general giving a speech. The general's name is Mark Milley, and he said something very interesting in his speech at Norwich University. I am not sure if he meant to say it or not, but I found it very profound. Mark Milley is a highly decorated general, graduate from Princeton and MIT. He was giving the speech to a graduating ROTC class. See if you can spot what he said that was so interesting in this small clip. A link to the full speech will be in the description. Let's take a look.
And you will graduate and be in that world. And you're going to be leading the soldiers and the sailors, the airmen and the Marines in that world. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men.
You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men.
What do you got?
So this is a short clip from a video that I took 3 years ago called The Fiery Sermon from the Valley of the Shadow. And on plenty of other videos I've talked about the upcoming witch hunt that would be occurring. But here's just a small sample.
Right in front of your face. And right now is the time to let go of everything you thought you knew, because no one comes with thinking they know something. It's that thing that you think you know that will prevent you from coming with. That will reduce you and limit you to a very narrow response range. Retaliatory combative response to those green dragon, serpent, devil, Satan, Lucifer, pagan witches. You want to be one of those people? We're sinking the ship, because the mind control has been so strong for so long, it does not allow individuals to develop consciousness within a forest of others who demand conformity and derive morality from the validation of the other mind-controlled slaves. You want off the plantation? That's the difference between a slave and a prisoner. A prisoner wants to get out, and anytime they receive an opportunity, they grab that rope that's been thrown over the wall, and they get out. A slave doesn't believe they can do it on their own, and that master provides for me, and he's given me a good life. Absolutely proves it. Just like this tree proves it burned flamelessly. You know why? This branch is unburned. All these branches up here are completely unburned. Brown. They're not black, they're brown. The focus isn't helping too much. There you go. Now you can see the brown wood, not black. It still has the outer bark on it, unburnt. Right there on the tree, center screen. You see that unburnt piece of wood right there, center screen? Right there, all these branches that come out are also brown and unburnt. That means this whole tree, look closely, burned without a flame, or those flames would have reached up and burnt those pieces of wood. When you open your mind's eye and you decide for yourself, I'm qualified to do this. I'm qualified to think for myself, to interpret what I see. I don't need someone to tell me what it means to be a good person, and that if I do what they tell me to do, then I'll be saved. Because those people, they can't even see what's right in front of their face and do whatever they're told in order to get the validation of their peers, and told that they're a good person for sending their kids off to Operation Mincemeat, or for burning some witches, or for breaking some windows and burning down someone's house, and then they'll be told that they're a good person. That's not the kind of people I want to be with. All you have to do, it's the golden rule, do unto others as you would like to have done unto yourself. And that means be the kind of person that you would like to be stuck in a group with other people that are just like you. That's all it takes to be a good person. And that's what's happening right now. And if you're not willing to let go of those groups of those people, then you're going down with the ship. Letting go of those groups of those people who still haven't told you about the plasma fires, who still engage in this Christmas psychological operation every year on the kids to make sure nobody finds Christ, and our trust in our fellow man is shattered when we invest all of our hopes into that psychological operation known as Christmas, and worship the Christ figure right next to the other Christ figure on the same day, and then we're told, no, that one was fake, but the other one's real. If you can now see that, that alone should be enough to let you relinquish your grasp to that group and recognize they were never here to help you. They were never here to help you discover how to be a good person or to get a relationship with Christ, or they would not have allowed that psychological operation to carry on the way they did for generations and generations. One generation is all it would take. If we canceled Christmas this year, 10 years from now, there would be a lot of 10-year-olds who are enrolled in church and recognizing that there is a truth in that story about Christ. But that Christmas psyop makes sure that they don't want to get hurt again. Well, we're coming to the end. This is the end of the road. This is the end of this era. And letting go of those people, some people are going to go, oh no, I want to be saved. All I got to do is defend Master's rules like my life depends upon it. And Master says that then I'll be a good person if I just pretend to believe in this thing I don't understand and call it faith. That's the trick. You cannot believe in something you don't understand. It is an oxymoron. It's not possible. And my Zoom's not working now for whatever reason. Maybe, oh, hold on. There we go. You cannot believe in something you don't understand. That's an oxymoron. And to say that you believe in what I just said, even though you don't understand what it means, and call that faith, we don't need any more of those people. We need a lot less of those people. Because in a world like that, where people seek the approval and validation of others to declare themselves a good person rather than discovering and asserting that I am holy, I don't need some guy that calls himself father or priest to tell me whether or not I'm a good person. I can bless something just as well as he can. That's what Greg Braden said in his video, who more holy than you? I thought only holy people bless things. Who more holy than you? Who have traveled through this world so far, and you can at this point either choose to receive the reward of a lifetime or come back and do it again until you figure out how to be a good person, rather than asking someone else to tell you what it means to be a good person. This branch is unburned. These branches are unburned. That's the option you have right now. And I know a lot of the people that watch this channel found the appeal of the way that I allude to Christ. And I've been directly very open and honest with my experience. It was a heartfelt, tear-drenched prayer to Jesus Christ that changed my life. But obviously I've been being prepared for this for much longer than just the last 2 years. Trying to get it to show you that this is flameless. There you go. Kinda. You can see this is unburnt. This is so highly burnt that if there were any flames coming out from here, it would have burned the underside of this. Are you willing to trust your own senses? Are you willing to think for yourself? Are you willing to have a personally relevant and personally meaningful understanding of morals and ethics and a code of conduct which you have derived? You know, that's why so many people in Alcoholics Anonymous get sober, is because they allow you the ability to discover God of your understanding without telling you what his name has to be or if it's a guy or a girl, a higher power of your own understanding. And that's what gets people sober in there. You gonna stick to the dogma of Christianity and say, oh no, it's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Squirt, and I don't understand any of it, but I'm just gonna stick with it. And the problem is, people have invested in something. After a while, they keep investing, even though it's a bottomless pit. They can't seem to cut their losses and recognize, these people have led me astray. These people are running a psychological operation called Christmas that makes sure none of us find Christ, while at the same time telling us they're Christ, vicar, and the representative of Christ on earth. They're the exact opposite. They are the wolf in sheep's clothing. And if you can't see that, then maybe next time around, you'll trust your own senses and be able to determine for yourself what's right and wrong and real and true. But if you can't see that, it's because you're so highly invested in groupthink that you're like the people that think this is forest fire. You can't allow your mind to see what's right in front of your face. And right now is the time to let go of everything you thought you knew, because no one comes with thinking they know something. It's that thing that you think you know that will prevent you from coming with. That will reduce you and limit you to a very narrow response range. Retaliatory combative response to those green dragon, serpent, devil, Satan, Lucifer, pagan witches. You want to be one of those people? We're sinking the ship, because the mind control has been so strong for so long, it does not allow individuals to develop consciousness within.
I think something applies here from the Santa psyop to everyone who says those aliens are fake. It's all part of Project Bluebeam, and that is the boy who cried wolf effect. My idea regarding Christmas is that we celebrate these two Christ figures on the same day, and for a kid it's all about Santa Claus, and then as adults we remind each other, oh no, Jesus is the reason for the season, but they are identical to the child. And once the child learns they've been lied to for their whole life, it hardens their heart, and they won't get fooled again. And so even though they walk around saying they still believe in the other Christ figure, they know in their heart it's probably just a matter of time till we all figure out that one was a lie too. It's a trained response through operant conditioning, just like Pavlov's dog salivated to the sound of the bell. Operant conditioning. So for the first part of your life, when you're lied to as a child about Santa Claus, you grow up, you find out it was a lie that everybody was in on. How can you possibly then, therefore, continue to believe in the other Christ figure that we celebrate on the same day, December 25th? You can't. It's a psychological operation to induce the boy who cried wolf effect. And today, when I see everyone unanimously singing the same tune, that's fake. Fake alien invasion, Project Bluebeam. That is a trained response. People say, you need to use your discernment. Disbelieving everything you see or hear is not discernment. It is as easy to mislead someone who disbelieves everything they hear as it is to mislead someone who believes everything they hear. And I can see there is a large portion of this truther population who has a trained, conditioned response that they are demonstrating. They're not thinking for themselves. And they equate disbelief with intelligence, as if one equals the other. I'm so smart, I don't believe that. Oh, you believe that? Gee, you're not very smart, are you? They literally make these statements equating disbelief with intelligence. Essentially, it is virtue signaling amongst your peers right now to say, oh, I don't believe that. Oh, me neither. Yeah, we're both so smart. That guy over there, he believes that shit. You've been trained and conditioned to give that response. There's a phrase, like a famous saying, I don't know who said it, said, when your position on a subject is in alignment with the majority of the population, it's time to reassess your position on that subject. And the majority of the population in these truther circles all agree that's fake. Maybe not very many of them are actually thinking, but they're demonstrating a conditioned response that has been ingrained into them, that they have been trained and programmed with through operant conditioning. You got lied to, so now you won't get fooled again. And just like in The Boy Who Cried Wolf, once he actually presents the truth and there really is a wolf, no one believes it. That's exactly what's happening with this whole alien bodies that have been presented. Everyone automatically, instinctively, knee-jerk reflex, knee-jerk response, not from a place of thought and contemplation, but a gut-level response. I don't believe it. Instantly, instinctively, without even thinking twice about it, I don't believe it. You've been conditioned and programmed and trained to give that response without even thinking about it. So maybe think about the possibilities here, because it's also a form of laziness and a cop-out to just say, it's fake, now I don't have to think about it. Because it takes a lot of calories to burn to think about this kind of stuff. So it's just much more easy and convenient and comfortable to dismiss it with a wave of the hand and the word fake. And now you don't even have to think about it. The implications of what this means and how it will affect our world. It is a cop-out. I'll leave a link to the video that we just watched parts of called Fiery Sermon from the Valley of the Shadow. Just dismiss the vibe with which I deliver the message and listen to the words, because I'm a bit agitated and aggravated and frustrated in that video. It was the height of the mask ordeal, and I'm the only one walking around without a mask at the time, and I'm the only one that can see that the trees are burning from the inside out with some form of electricity, and it's a little bit frustrating. Maybe this is a lesson for me to learn, to keep what I think. I keep my visions to myself, as Fleetwood Mac once sang. But I've been telling people that this witch hunt was coming in multiple videos. 6, 8, 10 videos I've mentioned and talked about and discussed and detailed this coming witch hunt that I've described as going to be something like the original witch hunts, which were religious in nature. The Christians were running around burning so-called witches that they declared evil because they're witches. So it'll be the religious witch hunt, because you got all these religious people running around saying they're demons, they're satanic, interdimensional, fallen Luciferian, fallen angels, and any other form of religious demonization that they can apply. Multiplied by the war on terror, where either you're with us or you're with the enemy. There is no gray area in between. Either stand behind our troops or stand in front of them. And if you get caught even saying that maybe you can kind of understand the other side's point of view, well, then you're a terrorist sympathizer and you're with them. So it'll be religion, multiplied by the war on terror, multiplied by racism. In the early 1900s, if you came home with a black girlfriend, you were alienated and ostracized and no longer part of this family. And soon you will be called a lizard lover. If you show any empathy, we give no aid and comfort to the enemy. And they are the enemy. And either you're with us or you're with them. So it'll be religion multiplied by the war on terror, multiplied by racism, multiplied by the C-19 because they have some sort of biological diseases, and if you go around them, then you don't get to come back around us because now you're contaminated. The witch hunt that's about to unfold is going to be spectacular. And very few people have what it takes to think for themselves under such conditions. They conform to the Ash effect and the Milgram effect. I've spoken of those before. The Ash effect, where you conform to the statements and thoughts and beliefs of your peers and abandon your own senses and your own thought processes on something so simple as which line is longer, A, B, or C. And they are 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inches, and you can clearly see that line C, the 3-inch line, is longer than the other two. But if the other 9 people around the table say A or B, 60% of the time the subject of the study conforms to the groupthink and says A or B when they can clearly see line C is longer. And this is in a scenario where there are no consequences. There is no consequence to whether or not you get this question wrong, but 60% of the time people conform to their peers. When it's something of great importance, you can up that rate to 99.9% of the time when it's something that has gray area and isn't so inconsequential. The Milgram effect is that people do whatever authorities tell them to, and in that experiment, they kept pushing a button, believing that it was electrocuting a guy on the other side of the wall, because the guy with the lab coat and the clipboard said to keep pushing the button, and he's the authority, the scientific authority here. Here are 2 videos titled Things to Contemplate Before the Witch Hunt, Mass Dissociative Identity Disorder, Part 2 of 2. So there's Part 1 and Part 2. I'll include those links in the description as well.
What about this argument that this interest in UFOs is convenient for a government that might want to get support for growing its military budget, or alternatively provide distractions for less appealing news stories that it might be involved in, and that including Easter eggs like this in its website is a way for it to get what it wants, get public attention, gin up an audience that it knows is looking for these kinds of things, provide exactly that distraction tool, and then a government that was genuinely trying to hide information from the public wouldn't be trying to wink, wink, nod, nod to the existence of alien technology or life.
Well, so let's. I'm going to zoom out. I provide a lot of context for the metallic ball image, but if we zoom out even further, I'm sure you guys are aware of the Senate Majority Leader's legislation that has passed the Senate, that is working its way through Congress and is now being or will be in conference with the House. And that legislation is literally called the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023, and it requires that private contractors who have UFO material to turn that over to the US government. That includes what they call biological evidence of non-human intelligence, alien bodies. And this is in federal legislation, in congressional legislation, and it's stunning. If the American people actually read what's in this, it defines non-human intelligence and mentions that term 24 times, 24 times. So there's something going on here. Between the executive, which was what we're seeing here, right, and the video of this metallic orb over the Middle East, and what's happening somewhat perhaps in parallel on the legislative side in Congress. So there's something afoot. If the Pentagon wanted to squeeze more money out of this, I'm sure there are other ways to do it. They would be they would be sounding alarm bells. They would be pointing fingers. Hey, look, this is China or Russia. They're not. They're being fairly cagey about this. So I think there are many different ways, or probably better ways, to squeeze money out of Congress for the DoD budget.
Merrick von Rennenkamp, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So this UAP Disclosure Act 2023 legislation that's already made its way through the Senate and been affirmed in the Senate and now is making its way to get signed by everyone in the Congress, that requires all private contractors to turn over any information they have about the non-human intelligences to the U.S. government is exactly what David Greer said was in the works at his Disclosure Project symposium that was held in Washington, D.C. a few months ago, and he said that there is a time clock already in place and the clock is ticking, and that they have about 6 months to do this, or within 9 months it'll be done for them. Like there's an ultimatum that has been placed before them, like maybe 50 years ago Eisenhower made a deal to exchange some of their technology for some people that they would allow to be abducted for DNA tests, stuff like that. And that over the next 50 years, you guys make the general population aware of our presence, and we didn't hold up to our end of the deal, so now they've placed an ultimatum. You got 6 months or we're going to do it for you. You cannot keep them in the dark any longer, or we will blow the lid right off this whole thing. So, this legislation that's already passed the Senate and is making its way through the Congress is exactly what Stephen Greer said was coming up. And I've talked about this before. So, the idea is, some people are dying to come forward with what they know, and once this legislation passes, they'll be given clearance to violate any and all non-disclosure agreements that they've signed. And when some of your colleagues come forward with the truth and say, yeah, I was a spaceship mechanic and I worked with these other guys, if you're one of those other guys, you don't really have much of a choice, because you know some of your colleagues are coming forward with the truth that they have, and they'll finger you as an operative that worked right alongside them. The only way they could keep it all under wraps is if they all kept it under wraps, because as soon as you have one or two who come forward, they pin the others who they worked with. And that there will be an ultimatum, and or else, if you don't come forward, you have a small, short time window of a grace period. And after that, we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law, and you'll spend the rest of your life in jail, because by then we'll have enough information from the people who did come forward to go round up the people who did not come forward. And they will put some teeth in this legislation. And for those who come forward during the period of amnesty, they will be not held accountable for crimes that they have committed. The things that they did were illegal, but if you come forward during this time period, you won't be charged with the crimes that you were part of. And thus, a lot of people are going to come forward during that grace period where they're given amnesty and not charged for the crimes that they were involved in and part of. What you're looking at here is a ring that is around the finger of one of those alien bodies that were revealed in front of the Mexican Congress a few days back. I hear a lot of people saying, it's fake, and they conflate their disbelief with the virtue of intelligence. They are virtue signaling, and it is a cop-out and a coping mechanism to dismiss all of this with a wave of the hand and say it's all fake. Now I don't have to burn any more calories thinking about any of it because it's fake. And that makes me smart. People conflate the virtue of intelligence with a level of disbelief. I'm so smart I don't believe that. Oh, I don't believe that either. I'm that smart. Or that, or that, or that, or that. I don't believe any of it. That's how smart I am. That's how lazy you are. Take advantage of this limbo period we're in right now, because you have like a superpower of ignorance during this time where you don't know with certainty what is true and what is not. And you have the opportunity to acclimate yourself. I have spoken many times, made many videos about the coming witch hunt that will be multiplied from the religious, which was the original witch hunt, carried out by the religious Christians against so-called witches. And then another witch hunt was the war on terrorism. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. There is no gray area. There is no in-between. And in order to show that you're with us, you have to go to war against them. If not, then you're with them and we're going to war against you. Stand behind our troops or stand in front of them. There was no gray area during that terrorism witch hunt. So this new witch hunt, as I've said many a times, will be religion multiplied by the war on terrorism, multiplied by racism, because we are different than them. Just like when you were a race traitor, if a white guy came home with a black girlfriend in the early 1900s, he was disowned by his family. And now you will be called a lizard lover. And just like they called you a terrorist sympathizer, if you said, well, hey, maybe these guys have got a point. Maybe we shouldn't be bombing all these brown people into the Stone Age all across the world. You're a terrorist sympathizer. This new witch hunt will be the original witch hunt of religion, because all the religious are saying they're demons, they're fallen angels, they're Luciferian, satanic, evil. So it would be the religious witch hunt multiplied by the war on terror. You're with us or you're with them. Multiplied by racism, because you're a race traitor, a species traitor. If you sympathize with them, communicate, or cooperate in any way, we give no aid and comfort to the enemy, and if you get caught doing so, you will be the enemy. You will be on the receiving end of this witch hunt if you get caught cooperating or communicating or sympathizing or doing anything other than persecuting them along with us. You're with us or you're with them. Multiplied by the C-19 operation, because they have diseases and microbes, and if you go anywhere near them, you're not allowed to come back around us because now you're contaminated. This is going to be the witch hunt unlike anything anyone has ever seen. And very few people are going to be able to think for themselves. All these people running around going, Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion, they don't think for themselves. That is a trained response. Just like you can train a dog or a parrot. Those people have been trained. They say, no, you need to use your discernment. None of this is real. Use your discernment. Dismissing everything as fake is not using your discernment. And by the way that you can see everyone in unison singing the same song, they're not using their discernment and thinking for themselves. That is a trained response that they are demonstrating. And they have been conditioned to give that response. Oh no, they've been prepping us for a long time for fake alien invasion. Yeah, they've been prepping you and conditioning you and training you to give this response for a long time. And very few people will have the fortitude to join us witches. Because just like during C-19 or the war on terror, if you go against what everyone else knows to be true and they sing in unison, anyone who sings out of key stands out. And no one's willing to do that. They're going to say what everyone else is saying and do what everyone else is doing so you don't get the wrath of your peers directed at you during this witch hunt. That's why you're going to say, yeah, they're evil. Yeah, they're demons. Yeah, it's all fake. You're going to say whatever you've been conditioned to say and do whatever everyone else is doing so that they don't do it to you. That's who you fear, is the wrath of your peers. These soft-minded people taking a hardline stance on things they don't understand, you know that they are weaponized retards. They are like a directed energy weapon, and that energy's been built up within them, and it's about to be directed, and you don't want it to be directed at you, so you better toe the line. Recite the bumper sticker slogans and mantras and doctrine and dogma that all of us good Christians have, or we're going to burn you at the stake. Very few people are willing to think for themselves, do the right thing when it really matters. They will go along with whatever the rest of the herd is doing. I'll lighten it up just a little bit here for a minute. Let's have some fun. Because this can be the greatest experience of a lifetime. It's the greatest show on earth, all right. But people who dismiss it all as fake propaganda, man, it's going to be brutal for them because they haven't considered the possibilities. One guy in my comment section of my last video, he said, how do we know that they're not like these bodies, these little alien body things, aren't like a biological experiment done by the powers that be? Because that's the kind of thing they like to engage in, is like biological experiments and stuff. So how do we know this isn't a biological experiment of the, you know, the black budget operation deep state stuff? And I was going to respond to the comment. I think he pulled it down. But I would say that's a good question. On the other hand, how do we know that we are not their biological experiment? Or that both of us are the biological experiment of a third party that created both of us. Genetically modified monkeys to create humans. Genetically modified turtles to create E.T. Am I not turtly enough for your turtle club, turtle? I was going to mention to the guys at work, the bosses, that, you know, you should promote me to upper level management, and it would really boost your ESG scores, your environmental, social, and governance, because lizard people are at the top of all these corporations in upper level management decision-making capacity. But you never see turtle people get promoted to the top, and I'm like 1024th turtle person. So it'd really help your ESG scores if you you know, promoted me. This is the kind of mockery that people are engaged in. And that's fine. Have your laughs. These are all coping mechanisms that people are engaged in. Denial, deflection. You don't have to burn any calories thinking about any of it, because it's just all fake. It's just all propaganda. You're so fucking smart, you don't believe any of it.
Slaves. You want off the plantation? That's the difference between a slave and a prisoner. A prisoner wants to get out, and anytime they receive an opportunity, they grab that rope that's been thrown over the wall, and they get out. A slave doesn't believe they can do it on their own, and that master provides for me, and he's given me a good life. And he's a...
These have been excerpts from a video that I took 3 years ago, titled Fiery Sermon from the Valley of the Shadow, where one of the things that I discuss is the Santa psyop, where we are given a fake Christ figure and the real Christ and celebrate them on the same day from childhood until we discover the fake Christ, called Santa Claus, is actually fake. And it induces the boy who cried wolf syndrome, where you get lied to. The townspeople got lied to so many times by the boy who cried wolf that once he actually showed them the truth and there really was a wolf coming through, no one believed it. The same process, the same psychological response is induced through the Santa Claus psyop, because you got lied to about a guy in the sky who knows when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake and wants you to do good for goodness sake, and then you found out it was all a big lie. You're not going to be fooled again. It hardens your heart. You become jaded. And then, when the truth presents itself, you are unwilling or unable to believe it because you got lied to so many times. The same effect has been induced through the truther community, and that's why they all respond exactly the same, because of the Pavlovian operant conditioning they have been subjected to, just like Pavlov's dog would salivate to the sound of a bell because he associated it with food so many times. The truther community is now in unison going, blue beam, fake alien invasion, it's all fake, I don't believe that because I've been lied to so many times. Now that I see the truth and the truth is presented to me, I'm not going to believe it either. This is the same response that has been conditioned and programmed into you through operant conditioning. You might want to watch the rest of this. I'll leave the link in the description so you can watch the whole video, Fiery Sermon from the Valley of the Shadow, but I have been foretelling that this day would come for quite a long time, where you would be triggered and programmed and told to go to battle against those green, reptilian, satanic, Luciferian, interdimensional demons. And that is why Christians insist there is no extraterrestrials, only interdimensionals. Why? because they know that somehow this word interdimensional is how they can say it's a demon. Because it's interdimensional, not just extraterrestrial, like from some other land, like a foreigner from another country. No, these aren't extraterrestrials. They're interdimensionals. That makes them demons. And thus evil. And anything that is declared evil, that gives you license to withdraw all compassion from that which has been declared evil. And they somehow have figured out they can declare it evil by calling it interdimensional, not extraterrestrial. They all insist there's no extraterrestrials, just interdimensionals, and that's what makes them demons, and ergo they're evil, and thus you have the license to withdraw all compassion from them. You have been being programmed to respond in this way, that it's now go time. A lot of the operations, it's like software that's been uploaded into your information processor and operating system minus the .exe file. And as soon as that .exe file is added, it activates all the other files. .exe means execute. All of these other software programs, it uploaded into your information processor operating systems are lying dormant until that .exe file is added, and then it activates all of these other programs that have been programmed into you to retaliate against those evil, satanic, Luciferian, demonic, fallen angel interdimensionals. And it's go time.
We're coming to the end. This is the end of the road. This is the end of this era. And letting go of those people. Some people are going to go, oh no, I want to be saved. All I got to do is defend Master's rules like my life depends upon it. And Master says that then I'll be a good person if I just pretend to believe in this thing I don't understand and call it faith. That's the trick. You cannot believe in something you don't understand.
If you believe in things that you don't understand, you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Come on, baby, take a chance with us and meet me at the back of the blue bus. Or it hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me. Can you picture what will be so limitless and free, desperately in need of some stranger's hand in a desperate land? Sail with me into the dark, sail with me into the dark. This is how an angel cries. This is how I show my love. I blame it on my own sick pride. Blame it on my ADD, baby. Maybe I should cry for help. Maybe I should kill myself. Just blame it on my ADD, baby. Maybe I'm a different breed. Maybe I'm not listening. Just blame it on my ADD, baby. Sail, sail with me into the dark. So sail away with me, and what will be, will be. I wanna hold you now, now, now. Crazy skies all wild above me now. Wind a-howling at my face. When everything I held so dear disappeared without a trace. And all the times I tasted love, never knew quite what I had. Little darling, if you hear me now, never needed you so bad. 'Cause we're leaving all the haters behind before the sun decides to hide. I know you think I may be out of line. I'm scared to love what we love most. I say you kill your heroes and fly, fly, baby, don't cry. No need to worry, 'cause everybody will die. And every day you just go, go, baby, don't go. And don't you worry, we love you more than you know. So don't delay, act now, supplies are running out. Allow, if you're still alive, 6 to 8 years to arrive. And if you follow, there may be a tomorrow, but if the offer's shunned, you might as well be walking on the sun. And when it comes, it moves so slow, kinda like she's saying, I told you so. Looking back before she goes, tomorrow's gonna hurt. 1, 2, 3, do you love me? Watch me scream, burning on the trees in amazement, 'cause I'm on fire. 3, fee, 5, foe, a giant's at the door in amazement, 'cause I'm on fire. 4, 5, 6, show you all my tricks. Fee, 5, foe, a giant's at the door in amazement, 'cause I'm on fire. Can I get an amen? For all the bleeding and the praying, I had to struggle to be gracious. Now you can touch it, you can taste it. Taste the smoke, taste the smoke. This is no joke. 15 years, blood, sweat, and tears and amazement, 'cause I'm on fire. So don't hesitate, 'cause my love won't wait. Ooh, baby, I love your way every day, yeah. I wanna be with you night and day. Oh baby, please. 'Cause it's the final countdown. Ba-da-na-na-na. We're leaving together, but still it's farewell. And maybe we'll come back to Earth, who can tell? I guess there is no one to blame. We're leaving ground. Will things ever be the same again? It's the final countdown. We're headed for Venus, and still we stand tall. 'Cause maybe they've seen us and welcome us all. With so many light years to go and things to be found, I'm sure that we'll all miss her so. It's the final countdown. Well, I dreamed I saw the knights in shining armor saying something about a queen. There were peasants singing and drummers drumming, and the archer split the tree. There was a fanfare floating to the sun that was floating on the breeze. Look at Mother Nature on the run in the 21st century. I was lying in a burned out basement with the full moon in my eyes. I was hoping for replacement when the sun burst through the sky. There was a band playing in my head, and I felt like getting high. I was thinking about what Jeff Snyder once said, and I was hoping it was a lie. Thinking about what a friend had said, I was hoping it was a lie. Well, I dreamed I saw the silver spaceships flying in the yellow haze of the sun. There were children crying and colors flying all around the chosen ones. All in a dream, all in a dream, the loading had begun. They were taking Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home in the sun. Flying Mother Nature's silver seed to a new home. Just like in the end of the movie Knowing. People of the earth, can you hear me? Came a voice from the sky on that magical night. And in the colors of 1,000 sunsets, they traveled to the world on a shimmery light. The people of the earth stood waiting, watching as the ships came one by one, setting fire to the sky as they landed, carried to the world the children of the sun. Children of the sun. All at once came a sound from the inside. Then a beam made of light hit the ground. Everyone felt the sound of their heartbeat. Every man, every woman, every child. They passed the limits of imagination through the door to a world of another time. And on the journey of 1,000 lifetimes with the children of the sun, they started to climb. Children of the sun. Regarding these last two songs, Children of the Sun and After the Gold Rush, where it said there was a fanfare blowing in the breeze and it was floating to the sun, if, as it says in the Bible, there would come this time of revelation where nothing will remain secret and all things that are concealed will be revealed, that will include the sun tunnel. That's not a theory, that's not a belief, that's an experience that I had, for which YouTube erased my entire channel. The older viewers of this channel know what I'm talking about, and the newer viewers, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste everyone's time getting you caught up to speed. To those people who know what I'm talking about the sun tunnel, these children of the sun have been part of my experience. Even if it's not actually the sun, it is a portal that was created directly in alignment with the sun, and those craft are transiting through that portal like a hole that was poked in the magnetic field, which created those flux lines and opened it up. That is a piece of reality that exists right now. Not that it could exist or might happen. That is real. That is part of our world that is currently concealed. And if this time of revelation that we're in right now leads to full disclosure, it will include the truth about the sun tunnel and the beings that come and go through it. No matter who those beings are, they live in an entirely different reality than we do, like a parallel reality. Even if they're fully biologically human, that is the only thing they have in common with us. Call it a breakaway civilization, if you will, possibly one that is from prior to the last cataclysm, the last reset, the last emptying of the petri dish of the culture of consciousness. Those individual cells that were extracted prior to emptying out the petri dish in this culture of consciousness and reseeding it with another startup culture. And I've been working on a jailbreak, got no time for a mistake. Any moment till the day breaks, no more time to get to know you. I've been working on a jailbreak, keep it calm with a fast pace. Any moment till the day breaks. No more time to get to know you. And now I'm living in a dream. And I don't think I'm ever gonna wake up. See, I've been working on a jailbreak. Got no time for a new fate. Any moment they'll replace me. Should have tried to get to know you. I've been working on my timing, insecurity beside me. But your taste is so inviting. Should have tried to get to know you. At the end of the movie and the book by Arthur C. Clarke called Childhood's End, these aliens show up in our atmosphere and float around up there in the sky for like 2-3 years, however long it is. And they have one guy as their point of contact that they use to communicate to the people. And this guy's just a regular average Joe blue-collar worker. So the people don't think he's like one of the elite or some sort of psyop operative. And eventually he says, you know what, you guys just need to show yourself. People are getting suspicious and they're expecting the worst. And you guys just need to come out and show yourselves instead of working through me and continuing to cloak your ships the way you do. And one day they do. They say, okay, we're going to make the big reveal. And they look like everything that we have been programmed to retaliate, reject, and rebel against. Which makes sense. The Christian dogma is no, you can't go along with the first gods that show up. You got to wait for the second set of gods. The first ones are the fake ones. That's the Antichrist and the false prophet. And you can't take the first train out of here. You got to wait for the second one. The first gods that show up here is the devil and his minions, his angels of satanic Luciferian fallen angel demons. And you got to fight against them with every fiber of your being. And never let them take you alive. That kind of programming, programmed into the culture of consciousness, has been intentional by the same people that run the Santa psyop on you, by the same people that told you to go home and take a vax and shut the doors to their church, by the same people that have kept you in the dark about plasma fire. Those are the ones that have conditioned you and trained this response from you. Everything from, it's fake, it's all fake, it's all a psyop, it's all Project Bluebeam, none of this is really happening, to, see, truth goes through 3 phases. First, it's mocked and ridiculed and laughed at. Ha 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 ha, that's funny, there's no such thing. Secondly, it's violently and vehemently opposed. Shut up, there is no such thing as extraterrestrials, they're just interdimensional satanic Luciferian fallen demons. Third phase is that it's finally accepted as if everyone always knew that. Of course, everyone always knew we weren't alone, and that there was more to the world than this little tiny corner of the puny verse that we live in. Everyone always knew that. Those same Christians that have been programmed and conditioned and trained with this retaliatory combative response to what we're about to see have had their hearts and minds broken with doublethink. I referenced it in my last video, how they believe 2 completely contradictory ideas, hold them both in their mind at the same time and believe them both to be true. Regarding, love me some America, and those founding fathers, love me some founding fathers, but those Freemasons, now they're evil. But the founding fathers were all Freemasons, and that's who created this America that you love so much. And they know this. They already know that. It's not news to them that all the founding fathers were Freemasons and that America was built by Freemasons. They already know that to be true, but they still say they love America and the founding fathers and hate Freemasons. That's holding 2 contradictory ideas in your mind at the same time and believing them both to be true. That was described in George Orwell's 1984 as black-white or doublethink. And the reason that that type of thinking was intentionally induced and created and programmed and trained into people, ingrained into their psyche, is because it breaks their mind. If they're willing to believe two completely contradictory ideas, then they do not think for themselves, and they are broken. And they say, Jesus was God's only begotten Son, and we're all God's children. Which is it? They say Jesus and Satan were brothers, and Satan was the serpent in the garden. A 5-year-old might ask his mother, well, Mommy, if Jesus and Satan were brothers and Satan was a serpent, doesn't that mean Jesus is serpent too? And therefore their God is serpent and all of us are the same? They haven't thought this through very well. They've regurgitated whatever they've been programmed to, and what they've been programmed to is to condition their response to the truth when they come in contact with it. By people who do not have their best interest at heart, who do not try to get them to develop a relationship with Jesus. Instead, they do the exact opposite and condition them from childhood, using this psychological operation we call Christmas to induce the boy who cried wolf syndrome and make sure that once they've had their heart broken because they invested all of their hopes and dreams in the Christ figure called Santa Claus, and then found out it was all lies, they harden their heart and they will never fall for it again. Even though as adults they sit there and say, oh no, we still believe in this other one of those two Christ figures that we celebrated on the same day all throughout my childhood before I got my heart broken when I realized everyone was in on a big fat lie. Everyone, even on TV, there was NORAD, North American Radar Defense, guys in military fatigues with all these stars like generals telling me that they're tracking Santa Claus with the NORAD radars, and my parents and my teachers and my cousins and everyone in the world was involved and cooperated and participated in this big lie that no one ever told me the truth. I just ended up figuring that out once I got old enough. But I still believe in the other one that we celebrated on the same day, the other Christ figure called Jesus. For a kid, the whole facade is all about Santa. And then as an adult, we have to remind each other, oh no, Jesus is the reason for the season, you know. Jesus and Santa are the same exact figure. Someone who lives up in the sky that knows when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake and wants you to be good for goodness sake. These same people that run this psychological operation generation after generation and get you to do it to your own children are conditioning you. They are conditioning and ingraining that response of the boy who cried wolf to not believe the truth when you do come in contact with it. When the boy actually is saying there's a wolf and there really is one, you won't believe it because of all the lies that you've been subjected to. And in your heart, these people that don't recognize the Santa psyop for what it is, who haven't figured out what that's about, and just say, oh no, I believe in Jesus, even though I haven't figured out how I got my heart broken and jaded and had that boy who cried wolf response ingrained into me from childhood, are just doing what everyone else is doing, with a wink and a nod, pretending we still believe in this one, even though the other one was obviously one big facade and a big lie. We all still pretend we believe in the other one because everyone else pretends to believe in the other one also. If you haven't figured out what that psychological operation did to you, you're probably still involved and enveloped and ingrained. You're programmed through the social engineering psychological operation. You haven't broken the programming. You're delivering the response that was the intended design of that psychological operation, engineering, program, and process that you were put through. And if you don't recognize the process for what it is, you're still under the spell. And once you've figured out this institution is not working on your behalf to try and develop a relationship with Christ, instead they're running this psyop to make sure that you never do, Those same institutions called the churches are the ones that closed their door, told you to go home and take a vax and wear a mask. Those same institutions are the ones keeping you in the dark and haven't said a word to you about plasma fire, even though of all the institutions, they should be the one that says, hey, you remember that thing in the Bibles where it says the earth will be cleansed by fire? Looks like it's happening. They could use that truth that exists all around us to put asses in seats and fill those coffers with donations by telling people the truth that it looks like it's time, but they don't. And once you realize that they're working against you to control you and herd you like cattle, like livestock, some channels like Quantum of Conscious have just come up with this rule of opposites. Whatever you hear them showing you and telling you, the general news media, the educational institutions, the politicians, they all work hand in hand with the religious organizations. So whatever you hear from them, generally just go the opposite direction and you'll be closer to the truth than whatever they've told you. And that, in general, is a good, logical, reasonable rationale when you figured out that everything they're showing you and telling you is pretty much the opposite of the truth for the purpose of keeping you in the dark, for the purpose of keeping you enslaved mentally by telling you that we're all alone on a spinning ball in the middle of nowhere. We've reached childhood's end, and there is going to be a shock and awe campaign to break people's conditioning. In order to build them back up with a new self-image and worldview, first you have to shatter their current self-image and worldview. It's part of any initiation process, and we are in the collective initiation, referred to by Greg Braden in the title of his video, Awakening to 0 Point and Beyond 0 Point, the collective initiation. 0 Point is referring to the magnetics reaching zero, and clearly we are very close to that. The Schumann cavity resonance is off the chart. More solar radiation is getting through our magnetic field. We're very close to that 0 point, and at that 0 point, there is also the collective initiation, because that is when the cosmic egg timer is up. That is when you must empty your petri dish of cells within this culture of consciousness, or it's all going to get wiped out anyway during that great reset. So there's a reason this all happens at once, and the holy farmer is coming around with the entire kingdom of heaven to harvest. And this is the holy harvest, the filtration of the consciousness farm, where you extract some cells that are demonstrating and exhibiting certain patterns of behavior which tell you that their consciousness has reached a certain level. You can tell their underlying priorities and principles by their outwardly expressed standards of behavior. And the way that you do this is you apply a stimulus to the petri dish and the cells within that culture, and then you let them respond. And by their response, they put themselves through a process of self-selection, and they themselves decide whether or not they're salvageable, or if salvation is not something that they are qualified for. They show God doesn't sit upon high and say, wheat tare, here's the wheat and there's the chaff, here's those that pass and here's those that fail. You decide. The chosen ones are the ones who do the choosing. And it's only just a matter of time before we start to lose our minds. We're leaving all the haters behind before the sun decides to hide. You see these biobot transceivers within this culture of consciousness, within this petri dish that we're all in? Most of them have 2 radio receivers, but only one of them is working. That is the heart and the brain. And most of them operate only from the brain. And their heart is completely disconnected. It's dysfunctional. It's not working. It's malfunctioning. And this holy farmer that's cultivating consciousness is trying to create a world, a culture of consciousness, where more and more of the biobot transceivers are using both of their radio receivers, not just one. And so it finds out which ones are have their heart connected and use it as just like an information processor, just like the brain, by applying this stimuli and then watching their response. And from their response, you will know them by their fruits. And through this process of filtration, it's a process of distillation and refinement and purification. So that ultimately, after you've been through this process enough times and select out the individual cells that do have their heart connected, and put them in a different petri dish along with others who also have their heart connected from other filtration processes, you end up eventually with a petri dish full of biobot transceivers that are fully functioning with both their heart and their mind. But this process is how you get there. And when you see that God is engaged in this process that will lead to a greater amount of happiness for the most amount of people within a culture of consciousness, a world that is worth living in because it's filled with people that are worth living with, who all have their heart connected, who are not only operating from 50% of their operating system, but are fully functional and not disconnected. You've been short-circuited for a reason. When you know that this is the process that's going on, you're willing to contribute to it and participate in it, even in ways that you might not understand how your part that you're participating in and how your contribution is actually utilized and applied. When you know the final end result of this process is a greater amount of happiness for most amount of people, then you're willing to participate and contribute and cooperate, even if you don't understand the part that you're playing and how it ultimately contributes to this greater plan. You know the greater plan, and you know it by its fruits. And thus, like these secret society types that follow orders no matter what, because they know what they're contributing to and participating in, even if they don't know how this particular thing that they're being asked to do contributes to that. Free your mind, man! Or double down on the doctrine and dogma that you've been programmed with and respond exactly as you've been trained to do, and think that that makes you a good person and that it's going to get you something good. And the way that you free your mind is by looking at the world through the lens of your heart. Because your mind has many different angles of awareness, different angles of perception that it can look at any one situation through. It can look at it from this angle or that angle or that angle or this other angle. Your heart has one angle of awareness, and that's the truth. It doesn't concoct all this gray area. It doesn't include all of these different sides to the coin. Well, you got to look at it from this way, and then you got to look at it from that other way, and you got to look at it from this other way. It has one angle that it looks at everything from. And that's a good place to start.